Mr. Grindstaff, folks, we're going on to page 28. This is priority for state investments in Delta levies. This is not the entire discussion of Delta levies and everything, but recommendations. We're called on to make recommendations on state investments. Mr. Grindstaff, you and the staff have a proposal that is substantially rewritten from the previous version, but contains the germs of the idea that were expressed before. Why don't you zip through it? And Mr. Nordhoff, as he raised 2 weeks ago, has some suggested, would you call them categories, Hank? Considerations for prioritizing Delta levy repairs. Sheet of paper handed out. And are copies of this available on the table? Do you have extras?
I have some.
Okay. Pat, maybe you could make those copies available to folks, if you would, please. Mr. Grindstaff.
All right, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. We have talked before about the requirement in the law that the council recommend priorities for funding for Delta levies, and in the last draft of the plan, we kind of deferred to DWR in that process, and we talked with the council 2 weeks ago about actually assuming a more active role in that. What we have recommended here is a process for doing that and some interim prioritization. So the process here is one that includes reevaluating the state of the current levies, so that includes geometric levy assessment, updating stage frequency analysis. What that means is you actually figure out what the flood stage levels should be, and as we understand it, those are 20 years old and need to be evaluated. It's kind of consistent understanding in the Delta that that's something that needs to be done in order to actually evaluate elevations for levees, and then develop an island by island economics-based risk analysis, which also looks at the process as a whole, looks at it as a system, and then we have listed a number of criteria here, and this is where some of what Director Nordhoff has proposed may fit. We have life safety, property, and these are kind of the standard things. He has proposed, and for those of you that don't see, I'll read it really quickly, the number of residents on an island, the value of an island's yearly economic output, economic, environmental, and social quality of life, costs of the domino effect. I'm not sure what the domino effect is. Maybe we should let you talk about this.
Maybe we should.
Sorry.
Mr. Nordhoff.
Yeah, this has been an approach avoidance situation since the very beginning. Something that we know we should do, and everybody, I think, has been reluctant to do it. And if I could borrow a phrase from Felicity, it's a little bit like Charlie Brown and Lucy in the football. You know, we've made a couple attempts at kicking the football, and it's never there. So this is an attempt to put the damn football on the deck and take a swing at it. And I'm taking the swing, and it's more than just a straw man. And I will read these things, and they are prioritized, although they're not weighted. The only weighting is in the order of priority. And the number one, and I think this is consistent with the draft we have, is personal safety. So the number one, the most important criteria would be the number of residents on the island. Two, being an economic animal, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. It's the value of the island's yearly economic output. What does it produce? What does it create? And obviously, each one of these coins has a flip side. It wouldn't be there if something were to happen to endanger it. And the third is the economic, the environmental, and the social cost of the domino effect. So economic, environmental, social. Social is an attempt to get at the quality of Delta life, the Delta as a place, and the cost of the domino effect. If this island, with so many residents, were to disappear, what would it do to the surrounding islands? Would they be in greater jeopardy of having a failure on a levee if this island were no longer there to try to obstruct and divert some of the flow? A third is something we've talked about before. It's the value of the private, state, and federally owned assets. Pipelines, electrical lines, rail lines, etc. And third is the value, the addition or subtraction to the delta quality of life, delta as a place. And the sixth one is an assessment of the risk of levee failure by a panel of 3 experts. In other words, we take people, one from the Delta, one from the Moon, and maybe one from Mars, people who really know about this stuff, designated as experts, and they get together and they do an assessment. They walk around and they say, this is a category D, imminent failure if the water level rises 3 inches. This is a category A, the water level could rise 300 feet, and this thing would still be good. The cost-benefit ratio, they're going to